Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and welcome to the late one, which is truly Silburn Sidiel. And yes, the late one, but tonight my late one is about youths and it's called Youth Connections. There's a Z at the end, Connections. And as the past two Fridays, what I've had is the two young ladies from Miss Teen Caribbean UK. And we also had the other two ladies from Miss Teen Caribbean UK. So I said, people are saying to me, you're being a bit sexist, Silver. Where are the men? You need to have some young men as well. So, of course, I always answer to the cry and to the requests of the viewers. And as a result of that, yes, I've got this young man, which is called Edward ADONTENG, a passionate, dedicated politics student with an interest in humanitarianism, sustainable development, political philosophy, facilitator of sorts, who utilize all resources at his disposal to aid in the development of others. Just became 20, so he just moved away from teenager. And I've been privileged at the same time to have mentored him during the course of his life at the same time. So without further ado, and the most important thing about this show is something, one of the reasons why I wanted to have this show, when he told me something, with all the demonstration which is happening with Black Lives Matters and everything, you may see people all on the street, but guess what? There's also virtual demonstration, virtual demonstration, cyber demonstration. Everybody asked me, what is that? And I said, I tell you what, watch the show tonight and you'll find out what is virtual demonstration. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my guest, Mr. Edward Adoteng, and he's going to explain and talk to us about all of this. Edward.
Yes.
Good. How are you?
Hello. I'm good, Uncle. How are you?
I'm cool. Well, listen, when I saw that you're wearing a hat, I said, listen, man, I've got to
Yeah.
SYLBOURNE SHOW live. Most people recognize me as that. But anyway, let me put that away. Edward, listen, you just, I was going to say I got a teenager on, but you're not a teenager anymore. You jumped the gun.
hmm
So listen, it's interesting because my son just became a teenager and you just move away from teenager to become a 20. Now, I want to talk to you about this virtual demonstration, but before I go into that, I want to make sure that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, please share the show as well. And the link is on Sylbourne TV. It's on Sylbourne, my personal page, and it's also on YouTube, Sylbourne TV as well. So if somebody not having it, you can go on YouTube and find it. Edward, I want to ask you this question first of all. Tell us about you and what are you studying?
Yes. Thank you, Uncle. So I'm Edward. I'm 20. I study politics at Coventry University, and I'll be going into my third year. What do I do? So I'm the head of ethics at Young Creators UK, and that's a youth media production company which is dedicated to giving young people an opportunity within the sectors of creativity. So whether that's within film,
Yes.
photography, media, music, you name it, young creators can obviously facilitate for that. I'm also the president and founder of the Ghanaian Society at my university, and within the society, we're dedicated to showing and displaying elements of our history, having debates, and just overall just making sure that we can facilitate and bring about community whilst in university.
Yeah. The last time I was with you, we were at the House of Commons where I invited you to Operation Black Vote, a political, well, not a political organization, but one is trying to get more black and ethnic minority persons into politics. I was a part of that scheme already, and you joined me there at the House of Commons. Um, you got a vested interest in politics as well, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and what is it about politics that interests you? Because this is from your young man. What is it about politics that interests you at this time?
That's a really good question, Uncle. I think for me, as a young kid, I've always like people have always said to me, "You should be a politician. You should be a politician." But I never really understood it until my adolescence, and I realized that what draws me to politics is the. It's interesting to see how people think and how people use their thoughts and their ideas to bring about systems and systems that can take care of people, systems where people can interact. I think that's what really draws me into politics. The idea that I can help bring about change.
Yes, and that is very and with your peers, other young people, do they also have an interest in politics as well?
Interestingly enough, yeah, I think the company that I keep were very, very political.
Mm,
Even in our conversations, it may not even start out as political, but it definitely always becomes that. And I think that rings true to the saying that politics is ultimately about the people. Yeah,
yeah. Um, okay. Race relations, and there's one other thing which I want to talk to you about. Race relations in the UK. What would you say it is like as a young black man? The questions I had with the ladies before is, what is a young black girl growing up in the UK with these uncertain times and the whole aspect of racism, and you see what has been happening. Give us a little preamble or idea. What is it like, you as a young man? Yeah.
I think as a young black man, it is definitely an ambivalent experience. I think at times I'm obviously a second generation. I'm from my parents are from Ghana, but I was obviously born here.
Yes.
At times, I think the situation with racism here is vastly different to stateside or other parts of the world in the sense where it's a lot more covert and it's much more felt rather than said.
Mm.
And so a lot of the time you kind of feel like you're in limbo because when you go back home at times you've got a situation where the folks back home may not take you as you're not Ghanaian, you weren't born here, you're from there, but then when you're over here in Britain at the same time you're seen as the other, you're seen as the elephant within the room, and
Yes.
it's really, really consuming. And at times you're having to put on different appearances and different masks to sort of like be able to feel human at times. So yeah, it's definitely conflicting. It's
Mm.
been conflicting in parts of my life, but I think as I've gotten older, I've learned how to feel comfortable with myself as a human being and as a black man. I feel proud about myself.
Now, virtual demonstration. I mean, you had the recent George Floyd issue, the killing of George Floyd, murdering of George Floyd, and there was a recent demonstration which has been happening around. And when I spoke to you and just trying to get a feel of it, when you mentioned virtual demonstration, I said, "What is virtual demonstration?" But at the same time, while you explain what is virtual demonstration, can you give me an idea also why you feel at the same time that you need to also be a part of the protest movement, yeah, but and then link it into virtual demonstration?
Okay. So first of all, I'll just kind of define what that whole virtual protest was, and then obviously why I felt
Yeah.
like it was essential. So
Yeah.
with the virtual protest, what that basically was, it was a protest or a demonstration rather on Zoom, and
Yes.
how that was put together was so essentially the organization that I'm with now, that's the Tribe Named Authority, also known as TNA.
Yes.
It's a Pan African sort of organization dedicated to healing and transformative justice. We when we were using our former moniker of LD and BLM, we had a wider range of companies reach out to us, and we realized for us, we understood that we were currently still in a global pandemic, and we wanted to make sure that people were safe. However, people were still going to go out, so making sure that if people do go out, they
Mm.
have the resources, they have the training, and they have the correct equipment to do so safely. But also
Mm.
realize that for those that were, at high risk, who still wanted to go out there, rather than them making them risk their lives, we thought, okay, everyone's been using Zoom for the past 3 months.
Yes.
Let's get something on there. So a company reached out to our I'll say an agency reached out to us and they were willing to help facilitate and bring it onto a wider platform. So that what that basically entailed was we had guest speakers, different sort of like, prominent black figures. We had live footage from the protests all on the Zoom room, and how it worked was they used a Zoom webinar feature and
Yes.
had up to about 20,000 people within the room. And it was nice. It was very, very nice. And from that, what had also happened was we had different celebrities and different influencers promote it. So it was a thing where even if you can't be here, you can still be here. And people
Yes.
were able to, feel and interact with that experience and ask questions and still know what it was like to be out there and obviously demonstrate in regards to this fight for identity. I think the follow up question was what drew me in and why did I really want to. I think for me, what happened to brother George really it was really, really traumatic because whenever I see execution, people that look exactly like me out there on TV, it takes you out the loop for a very long time. And so nowadays, whenever that happens, I try not to watch the videos. And unfortunately, one of my friends had sent me the video, and I clicked on it unwillingly. I didn't know what it was, and it just came up.
Yes.
And I remember seeing it, and I was just so emotional. But so I was like, no, like, this can't be happening. Like, why are we still having? Why do we still live within a scenario why this is the case? And so initially the idea had been like, you know what, I want to go have a sit-in at the US embassy. We need to mobilize. But then I realized that, hang on, we're in a pandemic. We're in a situation where we're dying. We're twice as likely, 4 times more likely to die at the hands of this disease, and not just due to the disease, but due to the various social, elements that make a part of it. And so I was like, you know what? Let's retract. Let's wait until things die down. Let's strategize. However, after this, there was like an outcry of like different protests. People were calling for action, and we realized that look, people are going to do this.
Yes.
Let's now make it strategic and as tactical as possible. And so then from there, we were able to come together and start planning towards this virtual protest idea. So we had that first one, which had like 20K people from all over the country and all over the world. And we had a follow-up protest, and that one was with Educators for Justice. And
Yeah.
they're a UK-US coalition sort of union of teachers and educators that strive for, equality and better representation within the educational space, as well as better representation in regards to the history and what's being taught. So we had a second thing with them, I think it was last weekend, and that was really well done. We had artists from the US, we had spokespersons from the US and from the UK that came to deliver that same message to the audience. But yeah, that's basically what's been going on.
And that was online. That's what we're talking about.
This was completely online. This was on Zoom. Yeah.
Because when I heard it first, and I was speaking to a couple of persons, we were saying, are they hacking the Zoom system or something, messing up the whole thing? But all you're really doing is somewhat engaging with the demonstration from the confines of your home and sharing words of affirmation and being a part of the whole thing. And so it is how long has this type of sort of interactive demonstration has been going on from your perspective? It's the first time I've heard of it. Yeah.
So this idea came around earlier on in June. So it's been almost a month now.
All
Really.
right. Oh, so it was stimulated and birthed through the whole George Floyd factor.
Yeah.
So can I ask you then, have you experienced racism in the UK?
Yes, I have, uncle. Unfortunately,
It's a question I ask, even though I know the answer already, but I still wanted to ask it, and for you to sort of give me a sort of maybe one example or so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll share an example. Me personally, and it was funny because I was speaking to my father about this. He said to me the other day that you've been talking about racism since you were 4. I was like, what? And he told me about how there was a situation, I remember the situation. In my primary school, there was a situation where we had a white head teacher, and what had happened, or what tended to happen, was that a lot more black students tended to be, excluded, expelled, be in the head teacher's office all the time. I remember one time when I had the amp, I was like, well, what's going on? And I remember going to my head teacher's office at 4 years old. I was like, you're racist. And it was, people would say that it was funny, but all the black teaching assistants and teachers were like, don't, when my parents came to have the meeting, they were like, don't scold your son because he's completely right. This had been going on. Where we were, but it was a situation where all the white students that did attend the school, if they had a situation where they were equally at fault, they wouldn't be at the head teacher's office at all. And this was a growing cycle, and it happened and happened. As I further kind of grew and I went into year 6, there was a situation where I had to move schools, and I went to the sister school. And within the sister school, I had situations where my fellow students would ask me, "Oh, have I ever sold drugs? Am I in a gang?" All sorts of. It was tough, and I was like, there was only like 7 black kids in this new school that I went to, and so it was really, really hard. And for a long time, I hated myself. The surroundings I was in, the comments I would get. It was very, very tough. It was very, very tough. Yeah.
So, understanding a bit of the past here and understanding going through, what was maybe a defining moment? The reason I'm asking you is a learning curve, because I was introduced to you by a good friend named Twana Menzies. She should be a very good friend, and understand a bit. Was there a defining factor that made you reach to the point now? Because many persons going through that, could turn a different way, whereby they're just angry, as there's a singer in Jamaica named Bounty Killer, saying mad, cross, miserable, angry, you know. I mean, it could be just going crazy. But what was the defining factor that actually brought you through to the point where you're in excellence? There's a program I have called Black Excellence, which I'll have to tell Dan to actually put you on it as one of Black Excellence. Yeah. What was the a defining moment, if anything, that helped you?
I think the defining moment for me where I realized that I can't allow the pent up emotion to make me stagnant and not want to do anything was
Yes.
I think it was a Cambridge trip. I went to Cambridge, and there was a man who said to me that, yeah, you can look around, but you won't make it here, you won't get here.
Mm.
And I remember on the trip back, my teacher, he made me sit at the front and he just spoke to me and he let me know that, look, these are the barriers that are set in place. These are the thoughts that are put on you as a young black man, and you need to know how to circumvent and move your way around these barriers. And I think that was the moment in my life when I was like, okay, I need to now come at this, not with emotion, but with logic, with be as wise as possible as you can in regards to navigating your way through this. And also understanding that, this isn't something that can just go away. It's something that will take time, but it also needs me to, first of all, have that self-reflection in my heart and
Yeah.
see, okay, I'm human, but what can I do? How can I give back to the community? What can I do beyond just complaining? Having that resolution in my heart
Yes.
ultimately to kind of bring about that ultimate
And
change. Yeah.
Edward, was that teacher white or black? The one who
And that
spoke.
teacher was black.
Okay, she was black. Okay, okay. Do you find that have you had experience whereby you've got white teachers or so that actually inspire you, in the sense that give you that extra push, that extra positive energy?
Yeah, there were. Yeah, definitely. For example, my sixth form head of year, he was a white man from Leicester, but he was very understanding and he was very real and he understood the realities of the world. He taught me sociology, but he allowed me to see that these are the machines or the institutions that are at play and
Mm,
how to go about it carefully. But he also he gave me that space and he understood me and he took the time to
yes,
understand me and my situation. And for that, I do applaud him. And he was able to. What I liked about it was that people often talk about allyship, and he actually understood what it meant to be, anti-racist in the sense where you have that dialogue. You
yes,
understand that conversations are going to be uncomfortable, but going forward and taking the time, and he took the time to go away and educate himself.
yes,
And
yes.
that for me was very commendable. And he pushed me. He didn't have to, but
Mm.
he took the time to understand me and push me, and I'm very, very grateful to him for that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I've got Edward ADONTENG, a political student, and who's telling us about virtual demonstration, which was taking place at the same time while he had the Black Lives Matters demonstration, which was taking place. And if you want to follow him on Instagram, you can follow him at apollostark. On the is that underscore? Yeah, yes,
Yes, sir.
yeah, and Twitter at apollostark as well, and see what he's actually doing. Um, I want to ask you this question now, because this is something a lot of people are talking about. You've been hearing about it, about Black history being taught in school, and somewhat it is deemed to be whitewashed. Like the Windrush generation that came, seeing much of them in certain things. Lots of them went into the army for the UK, but when you see the different videos coming on to D-Days and all those sort of things, you don't see anything. You think that no white black people has ever been in the army and fought for the UK. The whole
It's true.
aspect with the trains, the NHS, black people has been a part of that whole process. Black history. How do you know about Black history? And has it ever have you? How do you know about Black history? Has it been taught in school? Have you been learning from school?
No, um, any sort of element of Black history that was sort of in education was very, very,
Mm,
it was very lacking, and very lackluster. It was basically, the Martin Luther King and Malcolm X parallel, and that's about it. Most of my knowledge of my history has come from elders, from textbooks that I've been
mm.
instructed to go and read. That's what I've learned. It's been away from school and through conversation.
So what you're saying is that you have to dig to
Yeah,
find information.
yeah, yeah.
Do you feel then that as a young person that information should be given to you so you can understand more, or you believe that you need to dig?
I think there's an excellent quote. There's an excellent quote about education. I feel Paulo Freire says this. He says how I even get the quote up, but it's about how with education, in regards, it needs to be a situation where it's not just someone pouring it in for me to just memorize and just. It has to
Yeah.
be beyond that. The educator has a duty to allow for understanding, allow for that conversation to take place for me to just not only just dig. He can give me, she can give me the basis behind it, but then me taking that initiative to educate myself about it, if that makes sense. So it's
Mm.
not just a force feeding. It isn't just about bird feed, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna give you a certain example. I'm gonna give you, let's say, to go learn about Toussaint Louverture, the leader of the Haitian Revolution. My
Yes.
elder can give me the name, but then it comes down to me as the individual to decide whether or not I'm going to act on that and be proactive to go away and learn about Toussaint and what he done. So I think it's an amalgamation, it's a mixture of both of those.
So so I guess what you're actually saying is that you more would need the net. You don't want the fish because sometimes they're trying to get you to think a particular way. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I see. The other thing also, which I just wanted to pick your brain before. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, we're going over onto Instagram after for the after session where we break it down a bit more. Edward is going to join me on Instagram in the next few minutes after we finish here. These statues which have been torn down. Well, Cecil Rhodes wasn't being torn down, but it was legitimately removed because that was based on some discussion that we're having in that institution. The other one was torn down, but they took it back out of the water. And in America, I think they're tearing down Abraham Lincoln. But recently, I understand that they tore down Il Selassie somewhere in London. Yeah, that's something I've been hearing about. It actually came through to me from a paper in Jamaica. What do you think about that? With the statues being torn down of past colonial slave traders?
I think hmm, to an extent, I can understand both parties, but I can understand why statues have been torn down. I think the mental exhaustion of having to walk past a figure that has been the epitome or the symbol of subjugation
Mm.
to your people would really, really bug you. So, for example, the one that happened in, I think was it in Bristol? I think the
Bristol,
Bristol one
yeah.
they threw in the water.
Bristol, yeah.
Imagine going to your town center and walking past that figure every single day, especially knowing the atrocities that he's committed. Having to walk past that and knowing that this is someone that's being upheld by your community, I think that would really bug you. So the emotion in that, I can understand that, and I can understand why people would want to dismantle that and get rid of it, take it down. I think it'd be good if we had situations where it was done in a safe way, where it's like, you know what, we're gonna take it down like this, so then no one's getting hurt in the process of removing these statues. So I think with the Cecil Rhodes one, with the King Leopold one, that one was done in a situation where the bodies took that on board.
Mm.
There was no skirmish, there was no, and it was like, okay, we're gonna remove it.
Yeah.
We understand that it's been too long, it's been too late, but we're gonna take the opportunity and remove it completely. So that's my angle on it. I do feel like statues that uphold such atrocities have no place.
That's powerful. And the last one is about the Bank of England. I've said that they're going to remove governors who have been involved in the slave trade in that period of time. Lloyd's Bank and a few institutions are saying that they are going to be giving money to black organization charities. Um, People have been saying is that reparation through the back door because they have not acknowledged that they did wrong and they're going to give money. I mean, what's your thoughts on reparations and things like that? Yeah.
In regards to the notions behind reparations, I do definitely feel that that is something that needs to take place. I think look at the example of the Japanese community in the US. You
Yes.
know, during World War II and even after World War II, Japanese Americans were given a significant amount of reparations.
Yes.
Even if we talk on that topic of reparation, David Cameron, the PM, his ancestry, some of them, did have slaves as property, and he was even awarded a sum of, £1 million to my understanding for that. So reparations in our community is definitely something that conversation needs to be had. because it clearly, I do feel like there's been a significant amount of emotional, psychological, spiritual, and financial damage that's happened,
Yeah.
to the people from that community. So the reparations, I definitely agree with it. I feel like on the subject of, banks giving reparations through the back door, there needs to be better transparency, because it's one thing to just say we're going to be giving money to communities. You need to let the people know, okay, we're going to give it to X, 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 and this is how they're going to utilize that,
Yes.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I want to just go back to one question which I asked, but I didn't follow up on this one. So, do you think Black history need to be taught in school?
I feel like the United Kingdom, we pride ourselves on being seen as global citizens, and
Yeah.
we have this, this idea of cosmopolitanism. And I feel like if that really is the case, I do think that we need to have Black history in schools. I think the story of the Windrushes should be mandatory, because that aided, the Windrush generation aided in the rebuilding of this country. It's only wrong to just, exclude them out of that history. That's definitely mandatory, and I feel like Black history as a whole should definitely be implemented. We learn about all different types of history, so why do we leave out Black history? I
Yes.
feel like to get that perspective and that global picture and make the world a lot more colorful and understanding, we should definitely do that.
Good. I think we got a good feedback from yourself. And what do you do for fun then? What do you guys do for fun?
I read. I try to read. I try not to read so much serious stuff. I take a bit of a break with
Yeah.
some funny stuff. But yeah, most of the time I like taking walks. I meditate. I spend time with the family. Me and my mum recently, we just play a lot of Nintendo Wii, some tennis. So that's what I get out to in my spare time.
Okay. And finally now, because I see you as a leader, listening to you and understanding you a bit. That's Tournament is here. She said Black history is world history. She just wrote a comment there. And one of the things about as a leader, what would you then say to young people, the persons who are in your sphere of influence, young Black boys, young Black girls at this time? Because as I said in a recent show, that they are the future. When you look at the whole COVID-19, you see people sick and they're in hospital. Most of them are the elderlies. So therefore, as young people like yourselves, I'm still a millennial. I mean, so I'm still in the early 20s. but
That's
but when
right.
I reach 50 or so, you guys will have to take care of us. What's the word you want to give finally to young people,
I
Edward?
think to the youth, all I'd say is, your voice matters. Your voice is pivotal in this time. You should never feel like because you're young, because of your age, you cannot enact or be a conduit for change. I would just say use your various platforms, whether that's your Snapchat, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, to just speak, speak about your perspectives, educate who you can, educate yourselves, have those conversations, have those uncomfortable conversations if you need to learn more and to gain further perspective, because you can never stop growing. It's important that, young people realize that.
I like what you said about using all these various platforms, because there's so many platforms which is out there, and use it for good and for a positive sort of message as well. And is there any next movements then? Any next demonstration which is live lineup?
So I would definitely push this one, because it's always important that, to know that we are not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
So the Stop the Manganese campaign that's been running for decades, um, they're coming back. They'll be running back on the 1st of August, and it's going to be in Brixton from Windrush Square to Max Roach Park. It's going to be such a beautiful occasion. 1st of August, I definitely encourage people to come out for that, because it'll be an educational, a very fun, a very big networking opportunity.
Yes, I remember years ago I did something like that, and we went down into Trafalgar Square, and I was on the
Mm,
stage with Akala. That was before Akala got very big, Miss Dynamite, brother, and we shared the platform talking about it, about reparations, and things like that. So yeah, but listen, sir, it is great having that conversation with you, and people have been blessed by it. And every Friday I'll be doing more of this, just hearing, because I think that's one of the most important thing, Edward, is for us adults to listen to the youths, because there's a scripture in the Bible, and I keep referring to all the while, where it was in Job when they were criticizing the young man for getting involved and talking. And then I think the young man spoke up and said that age may speak or something like that, but there's a wisdom that comes from God the Almighty that actually speaks through man. So he said, "Let me speak, let me speak." So therefore, young people will have to also stand up at times and say, "Let me speak." And if you find yourself in a situation whereby you're not allowed to speak, you just call on me, as you call me uncle, and I will get the platform to speak. So ladies and gentlemen, listen, thank you so much. And Edward is going to join me over on Instagram there. But before I go, I've got to follow suit with Edward and make sure that we have our hat together. Is that your mother's hat? Is that your mother's hat? Your mother's hat? Oh my days. You know that. She was, if it's in Jamaica, if it's Jamaica, you know, say, the boy, take me hat. Listen, thank you very much for that, Edward. Okay, and we'll join each other on Instagram. There are persons coming on over there now. Okay, have a good night.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Okay, bye-bye. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for this informative discussion with the youths. It's so important that we have that information with youth. Do you remember when you were a youth? You remember when you used to try to speak and say something? What did adults say? And can you remember at this moment, at the age of 20, were you going to, I think at 20, where I was actually just finished coming to college, went to Kingston to work. And then after that, I actually was on my way to get ready to come to the UK. So I came to the UK at the tender age of 21 in 19. Yeah, you get my age right there, isn't it? So join us on Instagram as well at this time. And tomorrow night, I'm going to have a friend of mine from the States, Anil and I, we're going to talk about Anil Cross. We're going to talk about what's going on in America as well, because he has a similar platform. So we're just going to have a little banter talking about America at 9 o'clock with my fellow colleague. Because I really want to focus a lot on international issues, worldwide. It's a global thing, and Black excellence is powerful. I'm going to make sure I'm going to put Edward on the Black excellence platform as well, because I think that would be very good as well to draw some youth there. Let me hear what Moral actually say before I go. Moral, my good friend, we always kick off sometime, but it's good when we kick off. It's fantastic. The Industrial Revolution. Who is going to tell us that the Industrial Revolution was built on free slave labor in the America, which directly Britain? The cotton from America, the cotton from America, especially. Let me just post it up. Yeah, the cotton from America, especially the Mississippi Valley. Who is going to tell us that slaves were more valuable than gold? Who is going to tell our children about the Morant Bay riot in Jamaica? Well, Moral, it's going to be you and I. And as what Edward actually said a while ago, Edward said he doesn't want it to just be forced upon him down his throat. He wants to also be able to analyze and to dig for himself, So, but it's you and I. We're going to have to do that for the young people to get them to actually hear and understand more about it. Edward, how are you? You're over there on Instagram, yeah?
I'm good.
Okay, fantastic. So we're over there on Instagram now. So all the best, guys, and have a good night and peace out. Cheers.